episode of the Producing Success podcast, Catastrophicon edition. We are here with one of our special guests, Thomas G. Waits. You might know him from The Warriors, from The Thing, from And Justice for All. He's got a lot going on. He's one of our bands that's going to be playing. They're brilliant. You're going to love it. Thomas, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, David? Thanks for having me.
Doing great. So you've been in The Thing, The Warriors. Tell us about some of your favorite experiences with one or more of those movies.
Well, yeah, I guess what I'm most famous for is The Warriors, Walter Hill's The Warriors, and John Carpenter's The Thing. And lesser known, but probably higher quality in terms of acting chops is And Justice for All with the great Al Pacino when I was 23. So I've been around the block. I'm 68, and so I've been at this game a long time. But they're the three things I'm probably most famous for cinematically. I've done a lot of TV. I think 7 guest stars in Law and Order, Criminal Intense combined. The Punisher, Homeland, tons of TV. I can't even remember half of it, to be honest with you. A couple of soap operas for a year on each one. And now what I'm into is writing and directing my own films. Target, which is available on Apple, Amazon, and Vudu, is a kind of playful sex comedy. So if you're in the mood for a fun night with your partner, break out the oils and have a good time. And that's starting to get traction. But the other thing that I'm very excited about is that I've written and I'm going to direct a horror film. Catastrophicon is a perfect place to talk about it. And I've got Kelsey Grammer, who's signed on as the lead, and we're putting the financing together for that right now. But the script is, basically ready to go. And we also have a couple of other name actors that we're talking to about being in it. And we want to shoot it and get it cut, edited, scored, all before Halloween, if possible. It's called Devil's Night, which is another name for Mischief Night, the night before Halloween.
Excellent. Yeah, I've seen the promo for Target. Definitely looking forward to that. Especially, I'm going to need a break from all the horror movies come July 16th, at least for a little while. But definitely looking forward to this new one too. It sounds real exciting. We're all actually excited. One of the themes of this show, one of the genesis of it was the phrase I came up with called fanboy energy, the insatiable drive for superfans to get closer to their favorite artists and franchises using their own creativity. And a lot of times that takes the form of doing something that's sort of different from what the original theme was. So as an artist yourself, it's exciting to watch that you not only, act, write, and direct, but we're all very excited for Thomas G. Waits projects to help close out the day. Tell us a little bit about that, maybe what some of your influences are and what songs people should look for to get excited.
Yeah, I'm a songwriter and singer. I wrote most of the songs, almost all of the songs for Target that are used. And some of them I wrote for the film. Some of them were old songs from a new wave punk rock band I had in the 80s, and I dragged them out of the dustbin and gave them new life, revitalized them. My influences as a songwriter are mostly Springsteen and Dylan and Jackson Browne. I would say they're the 3 people, and Tom Petty, 4 people I guess that have really spoken to me. Springsteen first. His album Darkness on the Edge of Town really changed my life. Dylan is just, there's so much to Dylan. I mean, Dylan is, the equivalent of Walt Whitman, the American Shakespeare. And I think an underrated musician. Um, People always talk about his voice, but look what he's done with it.
Hmm.
He was only given maybe an octave or two, if that, range, but look what he's done with it. I mean, I admit there are times, there are recordings where you hear him singing off pitch, out of tune, off key. There's one live recording with the band where he sings this song, and the whole thing, he's like, I don't know if it's a fourth or a second, but he's above the whole thing. He's not on pitch for the entire song, but he's still so great that no one cares, you know. And Jackson Brown, of course, is a great hero of mine. And I had the great good fortune to, meet him during the shooting of Clan of the Cave Bear, which is another film that I did in the 80s.
A great one.
But yeah, with Daryl Hannah and James Remar, who was also in the Warriors. And I believe James is also in Oppenheimer that's coming out. The big Christopher Nolan extravaganza.
Fantastic. So so everyone, I can't emphasize enough how excited we are to have Thomas be playing at the end of the night, and also those of you who are fans of the Warriors, we now have 6 Warriors who are going to be there, or 3
awesome.
Warriors rather. David Harris, Terry Mikos are both in the Warriors, and then we have some other gangs. Apache Ramos is in the Orphans. Fernando Castillo is one of the Gramercy Rifts, and Anton Pagan is one of the runners on the subway. And just as my own personal favorite thing about that is Anton Pagan was a dancer in Saturday Night Fever, which is one of my favorite movies. So I can claim to have little bit of that in my in my first show.
Was he really? I didn't know that.
That's what IMDb says. So anyway, so Thomas, you go to a lot of these shows. Can you tell us anything about this particular one that you're looking forward to? Because we want, this is brand new. Westchester has nothing like it. I want congoers and maybe people who've never gone to a con alike to understand how exciting an event like this is.
It's exciting, it can be so much fun. Some people come dressed up in the cosplay, they dress up as Kurt Russell in The Thing, or people have even come dressed up as Windows, believe it or not, in The Thing, which is hysterical. But then there are just regular people. A lot of them bring their children, which I love. I love meeting the younger generation that, The Thing especially is the kind of movie that a lot of, strangely, families share together and watch together on a yearly or bi-yearly basis because it's such a high quality film. John Carpenter's a master, of course, director. And the fun of it is like getting to be personable and getting to know a little bit about each person and find out where they're at and what they're into. And I get a chance to, shake their hand and take a selfie with them. And they get a hopefully good photograph of me signed personally to them, if they wish, that they can take home. And it's a memory. It's a chance to create memories with a group of people, all for the same purpose, which is to have fun and enjoy cinema, which is what it's intended to do, which is to bring people together, as is music, as you know. I came up, during the Woodstock era, which was like, wow, this is what it's all about. It's a bunch of people in the same, zone, on the same frequency. And kind of like what religion set out to do, but now has kind of been supplanted by the arts, I think, to a certain extent.
I told that story to Ari Lehman when I talked to him the other day. Speaking of religion, I actually went to camp at Nobi Bosco where Friday the 13th was filmed. And they told us that. I thought it was an urban legend because other people in the past, other people down the road told me that they went to camp there, but it was Nobi Bosco. And I went on a tour with a friend of mine who's a huge Friday the 13th fan a couple of years ago. And when I was walking around and I saw how much people love Friday the 13th now, like 40, 50 years later, I felt like this is what I said. It felt like Mount Sinai because no one knew what this was going to happen. This is where the Ten Commandments were handed down, and then it's like religious. You know, everyone else took it and ran with it, and they're still running with it. It's still there's still excitement. We got Vince DeSanti did a fan film, and obviously Ari's going to show his band again. That fanboy energy, and so that's exciting. And you know what? Now that you mention it, the thing is sort of another fanboy energy example because it's I remember before it came out in 1982, I was a kid and I had seen the original, The Thing from Another World. My father took me to this new one, which is obviously another generation doing their take on an original movie. That's what this is all about, you know. Um, and it is one of the very few things that kept me up at night for weeks. I don't remember being unable to sleep like that until I started planning this event and trying to make sure everything goes perfectly. So
I'm sure we're glad to be of service. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh, Now, the fans are what it's all about. You know what I mean? Without fans, I get sometimes fan mail that I have to answer, and I'm so lucky. What a problem to have, that I have a fan in Poland or a fan in Germany, and they followed my career. I'm so I'm and you'll get this when you watch Target. The theme song is called "Lucky Man,"
mhm,
and it's meant to a certain extent, ironically, in the film, but in life, it's meant truthfully that I'm just. There's a lot of actors out there, and a lot of actors that have done a lot better than I have, financially and otherwise. But very few actors have been in not one but two cult films,
yeah,
the Thing and the Warriors. So I've just really, as difficult as I've made it for myself at times, and I have, as I alluded to you earlier about getting fired from the Warriors. Somehow somebody up there is looking out for me because you know I've been very fortunate, and as a result, my family has had a better life and health insurance and things that are getting more and more difficult to come by these days.
yeah. These cons for everyone who it really sort of creates a new economy for actors and musicians who, um, you know, if I watch my DVD of The Thing, you're not going to get residuals for that or anything, but I can go and
Right.
get you to sign it and put some money in your pocket, right? I was thinking about
Yeah.
um, you might love the bass player of you might love some band from the 80s that had like three good songs. So you might not even go see him in concert now. And the bass player might not even be in the band anymore, which means when they tour, he gets no money. When you listen to your CD, he gets no money. How much is he going to get on Spotify after it's all sliced? Nothing. But here, let me have a picture of you, and it goes right to their pocket. And there was a time when MTV used to like make fun of those people, or there was sort of a joke. Instead, we're turning it into something great because we're remembering, and remembering The Thing. How much imagination does that spark? How many questions did The Thing leave open about, like, what is this creature that we're still thinking about?
Mm.
And we can talk to you about what it was like, creating that character, being in that situation, because what the director told you. And with the Warriors, like, what else? What do those gangs do when they're not fighting? When they're not trying to unite and then fight each other? Like, there's a whole world. You dress up like that, and you could imagine, you know. Um, and we have cosplay groups going to be there, like the Star Wars, the Empire Saber Guild's going to be there. We have the Amazing Spiderlings, and we have the Funtime Cosplay Group, Dream Killer Cosplay. Anyone who wants to dress up, it's all like, to me, it's all about imagination, and so we really have a lot to thank people like you for giving us the kind of springboard. You know,
Yeah, I'm the one that should be thanking you. Catastrophicon is a great name, first of all. I
Catastrophicon. That's how you say it.
Catastrophicon.
And once you learn how to say it, you have to attend because otherwise you learn the word for no reason.
Catastrophicon. That's
Yeah.
even better. And that's probably correct. Catastrophicon. Okay. Um, no, because I'm in New York. I mean, I lived in New York. Most all my entire life. I came up, cut my teeth as an actor on Broadway in New York. Westchester's just a stone's throw away, and um, you know, we appreciate all the people that are behind us in our endeavors. It's a tough life being an actor. I'm not whining about it, but it's a tough choice. You have no steady paycheck. You're self-employed. It's basically whatever you gun down in the street that week is whether or not your family eats. And that's not, the lifestyle for everyone, but it certainly suited me. And you talk about rock bands and the bass player or the guitar. I saw an interview that Mike Campbell, the guitar player for Tom Petty, the great Tom Petty, that we lost recently. It's so sad. Mike Campbell was his guitar player, and he talks about how his home was about to be foreclosed on.
Wow.
And this was in the 80s when Tom Petty was pretty big, but they weren't touring, and he didn't write the songs, but he wrote Boys of Summer, that great Don Henley hit. After the boys of summer have gone, right? He wrote the music to it. And Tom Petty said, listen, it's a little too jazzy for us. It's not really where I'm taking the band. And he was, despondent and depressed. And then Jimmy Ovine, if that's how you pronounce his name correctly, the producer, Jimmy Ovine, he produced Badlands and it's a lot of Springsteen stuff, and he's into a lot of things. He's a big shot in the music business. Anyway, he said, Don Henley's looking for music for his new album. And Henley listened to the song and put the words to it. And all of a sudden, they had a hit within a month. The thing was being played on the radio constantly. And this guy's house saved his family. I mean, that's how close to the edge that we live sometimes.
For sure. That's one of the, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to plug one of the kind of special features of this particular con, which I think makes it unique. But either way, we have the original concept of the panels, because my background is running educational conferences, business to business conferences. So we have panels for artists themselves who are looking to advance their careers. So we have a panel on crowdfunding for pop culture professionals. So that's going to be good for people who want to sell their book or their movie. How to you want to build your. Actually, I'm confusing the two names. One is for on crowdfunding. Obviously, you want to build your fan base and learn how to fund your project. The other one is entrepreneurship for independent artists and for pop culture professionals who are looking to turn their hobby into turn their passion into a business. There are ways to do this. People have done it successfully, and cons are one way to actually, put yourself out there. Ultimately, we want to build, and it all depends on this working out. Is I want to build an ecosystem around here of aspiring artists, new artists who really want to make it, where they can find not just the tools they need educationally, but also partners, right? Someone else. So if someone has a book and someone's a filmmaker, maybe they'll meet each other here, and 5 years I can take a little credit that they met each other on site.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's not about me taking credit. It's really about, like, I know how frustrating it is. We were talking about how I do music and stuff like that. It's real frustrating trying to get your stuff out there, and I'm sure that that's true for every single artist, no matter what level they're at. If I could have some people meet each other and find some kind of synergy, and maybe we build this in a couple of years, it's a real showcase for new talent and new productions. That's
and for kids to come and to talk to people like me that have been doing it for a long time, and like, how did you do it? What did you do? And the focus on constant improvement. And also it is an ideal, because if you don't have a big studio behind you, or a big publishing house, if you're a writer, or a big record company, or somebody big behind you, it's almost virtually impossible to get noticed. With Target, for example, I raised the money. I shot. It's an independent film. It's being distributed by Dead Talk Live Media. It's a very small distribution house. I have no power except the word of mouth, grassroots. Just people watch it, they enjoy it, they have a good time watching it, and they tell their friends about it. And that's we've got to keep that alive and strong. Otherwise, America just becomes this big corporatized, corporatocracy or whatever it is. It's just all about the 4 or 6 or 10 billionaires that are left in the United States and what they want to do, instead of what about the little guy? What about the guy nobody pays any attention to? He might have more talent in his little finger than I have in my whole body, but no one's giving him a chance.
Yeah, I was talking to Christopher Pelton runs a publishing company called Psychotoxin, and he's looking for writers who kind of might have gotten skipped over by the big publishing house, even though they had a great book. So that's great. And then I realized that's sort of what I'm doing, even though that wasn't my goal. I mean, I don't know what my goal was with this. I'm running with I'm riding the wave right now. And with the increase in streaming services, they're all looking for content. And to go back to the plug for the panels, if you learn how to crowdfund, that means you're learning how to activate a audience. And there is a critical mass you can reach. You get a couple partners who can each tap 5 or 6 figures worth of people. Then you go to Tubi or Netflix or something and say, look, we have something here.
Listen, somebody taught me once, if you can get one person to believe in you, just one person, then that means you can get 2. And if you can get 2, you can get 3. And if you can get 3, you can get 30. If you can get 30, you can get 300. There's no exponentially, there's no stopping you. It just takes you to believe in you to begin with.
That's wonderful. I think that's a good ending note for the interview.
Sounds good to me. I got a big day ahead of me, and I'm really excited about Catastrophicon. I can't wait to get up there with my guys, meet the folks, sign autographs, talk about the movies, and then, of course, get up and play.
Yeah, fantastic. And that was also another thing I said to Ari. I think I'm gonna probably go home and want to whip out my own guitar and jam myself to sleep after watching you guys.
Attaboy. There you go.
All
if
about
music be the food of love, play on.
Absolutely. So, okay, great. Well, I'll let you go. And everyone, thank you. Thanks for coming in for this episode of the Catastrophicon edition of Producing Success. And we will see you next year. Thank you, Tom.
All right. See you, David.